It is exactly 4:42 in the afternoon, and right now, Tehran is making the absolute worst mistake in the history of modern warfare. There is no build-up, no warning shot. Deep below the surface in the Strait of Hormuz, hidden inside dark ocean trenches, Iranian forces pulled the trigger. 4 Ghost Shark torpedoes, the most lethal underwater killers ever seen in these waters, shoot out of their tubes. Their target is not just some average battleship. They are hunting the Sovereign. She is a 120,000-ton super-dreadnought, a floating fortress of solid steel that represents the absolute, undeniable might of American power on the ocean. You can almost feel the smug excitement boiling in the veins of those submarine commanders. They watch 4 glowing white lines streak across their screens, ripping through the water at an insane pace, heading straight for our colossal ship. They figure the fading sunlight over the Gulf Mountains will give them the perfect cover, leaving the Americans totally blind and helpless. What a heartbreakingly foolish thought. Take a look at what is actually happening. Out on the deck of the Sovereign, 120,000 tons of pure, unstoppable metal just keeps cutting through the waves. She does not drift a single inch off her path. Death is rushing right at her at 200 knots, but the American Navy does not even blink. Down inside the Combat Information Center, the vibe is not panicked. It is completely ice cold. It feels like watching a god stare down a tiny bug trying to pick a fight. The enemy has not just fired at a boat. They have walked straight up to the gates of hell and knocked. They decided to launch their strike at 4:42, and by 5 o'clock, they are going to learn what it means to be totally erased from the map. You are about to see how an empire handles a threat. Outside, the Persian Gulf is baking in 45-degree heat, but inside this massive hull wrapped in 3 meters of steel, the air stays perfectly chilled at 19 degrees. It is the ideal temperature for the machines to do their dirty work. You will not hear anyone yelling. You will not see people running around. There is only the quiet, steady breathing of quantum servers crunching billions of thoughts every second. In this room, war is not a bloody, messy struggle. It is just green lights and glowing code on flat screens. The Aegis X Defense Artificial Intelligence, the most brilliant electronic mind humanity has ever built, wakes up. Deep underwater, the towed sonar catches a sound so tiny that a human ear would never notice it. But to our computers, it screams like a siren. It is the exact noise of water shifting as the Kilo-class submarine forces its torpedo doors open. The Iranians think they are being so sneaky. They waited for sunset, hoping the shifting temperatures where salt and fresh water mix in the Strait of Hormuz would create a natural sound barrier to hide them. They actually thought the Sovereign would be deaf in this underwater maze of limestone. They are playing a child's game of hide and seek with a machine that can see every single drop of water in the ocean. The intelligence system speaks, calling it an Omega-level threat. The voice is totally flat, completely empty of fear, sounding just like a judge handing down a final verdict. 4 red lines pop up on the glowing map, ripping away the ocean's natural disguise. Our officers do not even have to reach for their keyboards. In less than the blink of an eye, the computer has already dreamed up 1,200 different ways to end this fight. The commanders in Tehran think they started a regular naval battle. The truth is, they just locked themselves in a cage with a butcher, and we have the sharpest knives on earth. Let us talk about Tehran's shiny new toys. They love bragging about these 4 Ghost Shark supercavitating torpedoes. The name sounds terrifying when you read it in the news, but the reality just proves how desperate they are to act tough. The design is wild. A flat disc on the nose creates a giant bubble of gas that swallows the whole torpedo. Instead of swimming through the water, this thing literally flies through a pocket of air underwater. That totally kills the friction, letting it hit crazy speeds of more than 200 knots. Against an old-school ship, the Ghost Shark is a guaranteed death sentence. But there is a massive difference between a trained sniper and a guy swinging a chainsaw in the dark. The Ghost Shark has a fatal flaw. It is incredibly, absurdly loud. Pushing that gas bubble at those speeds creates a shockwave so loud it sounds like a jet plane taking off underwater. Our submarines move like quiet shadows, but the Ghost Shark is like a guy running through a quiet library screaming through a megaphone. It hands our Aegis X system a perfect, glowing map right to its location. Worse, because it sits inside the air bubble, the sonar on the nose goes completely deaf. The torpedo cannot hear a thing. It just charges straight ahead on a set path, blindly hoping the target is dumb enough to sit still and wait to die. It is hilarious. They built a smart weapon that has absolutely zero idea what is happening around it. Each one carries a 400-kilogram warhead, which is plenty to wreck an old aircraft carrier. But the Sovereign is wrapped in magnetic reinforced titanium cobalt alloy. It is not just armor. It is a wall that those old chemical explosives cannot even scratch. It is like watching someone shoot a wooden arrow at a spaceship. Tehran blew billions of dollars and decades of time to build something where its only trick, its speed, is actually its biggest weakness against American engineering. By launching something so noisy and reckless, they did not just miss the target. They practically beg us to track them down and wipe them out. It is 4:46, and those things are closing in fast. The red lines cross into the danger zone on the screens. Any old naval textbook would tell the captain to smash the alarm, crank the engines, and whip the ship around in a pure panic. But this is not the old days. This is the deck of the Sovereign, and we do not run on fear. We run on the pure, cold laws of physics. Look at the captain. He is standing there like a statue carved out of rock, eyes glued to the monitors. His order is not to run away. He tells them to hold the speed and keep moving straight ahead. Why in the world would you stand still while an arrow flies right at your chest? Because we know exactly how the geometry of the ocean works. The enemy commanders are probably sweating right now, staring at their screens, totally confused why our giant 120,000-ton monster is just cruising along like it did not hear a thing. They are waiting for us to turn so their torpedoes can guess where we are going. By staying perfectly straight, we give their tiny computer brains a puzzle they were never taught how to solve. The Sovereign does not just float on the water. She completely changes the ocean around her. When all that heavy steel pushes forward at 30 knots, it rips open a massive, violent wake. It builds a deep canyon of crashing pressure and angry bubbles that breaks every rule of how water is supposed to move. We are letting those torpedoes fly directly into a meat grinder. The whole trick of the Ghost Shark is that the gas pocket has to stay perfectly stable. If you change the water pressure even a tiny bit, or hit a wild current like the wake of the Sovereign, that protective bubble pops. When that air pocket dies while the weapon is moving at 200 knots, the torpedo slams into the heavy ocean water like a car hitting a brick wall. It rips itself into pieces before it ever gets close to our ship. We do not have to dodge anything. We just let the sea chew them up for us. While Iran crosses their fingers and prays for a lucky hit, the American crew is just doing basic math, getting the angles right down to the last inch. The afternoon sun keeps shining, the wind rolls across the deck, and the mighty ship sails on like a king who refuses to even look down at the peasants trying to grab his boots. By 4:47, the weapons are only 800 meters away. They are about 8 seconds from hitting us. Down in the mud, the Iranian crew is probably getting ready to pop bottles and celebrate. Their old, cheap screens show their 4 little red dots landing right on top of our giant ship. They truly think they are about to make history and shake the whole Persian Gulf. They have no idea they are staring at a complete fantasy, a fake picture we painted just to mess with them. The command to activate the Phantom ecosystem rings out. Instantly, the back of the Sovereign spits out a cloud of electromagnetic tricks and digital sound makers. These are not your everyday flares. They are absolute works of mathematical genius. The system starts singing a song that sounds exactly like a 120,000-ton super-dreadnought. It fakes the heavy grind of the engines, the spinning of the blades, and even the magnetic pull of the massive steel body. This is where it gets really funny. Those 4 Ghost Shark torpedoes, already blind inside their air bubbles, suddenly suffer a complete mental breakdown. Their tiny electronic brains cannot handle it. Suddenly, they do not just see one American ship. They see 2, then 3, then 10 massive targets popping up everywhere, dancing around them like ghosts. You can watch their paths fall apart. The expensive weapons start shaking and drifting off course, smashing into each other in a panic. Their white trails turn away from us, totally lost, chasing imaginary ships into empty water. Our real ship keeps peacefully sailing forward, leaving the enemy weapons tumbling behind us like clumsy clowns. It is the most embarrassing thing you can experience in a modern fight. Your enemy does not even know what is real anymore. Just picture the absolute horror on the faces of the Iranian bosses back at the Bandar Abbas base. They watch their target disappear and magically pop up miles away. They watch their own missiles blow each other up or crash into the rocks. Their smug pride vanishes, and pure, icy fear takes over. They figure out they are not fighting a regular boat. They are fighting a machine that can rewrite the rules of the world just to laugh at them. We do not even have to fire a single bullet to defend ourselves. Why would we, when we can walk them around on a leash? We let them burn up their money, their hope, and their weapons all by themselves. This invisible battle proves the ultimate point. In the Strait of Hormuz, the winner is not the guy with the biggest bomb. The winner is the one with the smartest code, the one who gets to decide who gets to keep living. Tehran did not even pass the easiest part of our test. It is 4:48. The torpedoes are gone, fading away in our rear-view mirror. But for the Sovereign, the real work is just getting started. Rookies think surviving an ambush is a big win. But for the United States military, surviving is just the first step before we execute you. Tehran made a deadly mistake. They thought the dark ocean would hide their dirty work. They thought they could shoot at us, sink deep down into the cold water, turn off their engines, and turn into invisible ghosts. It is almost sweet how innocent that is. They do not realize that every time you fire a weapon today, you leave a bright glowing string tied right from the target back to your own neck. The order goes out to start the reverse mapper algorithm and strip away the ocean temperatures. Inside the Combat Information Center, the lights turn a cool, sharp blue. The quantum computer starts running the tape backwards, perfectly tracking the path, the speed, and the tiny ripples left by those 4 torpedoes. Our Aegis X system draws a perfect line straight down to the bottom. We do not even have to go looking for them. We just let their own attack hold our hand and walk us to their front door. Watch the screens. The computer peels the Strait of Hormuz apart layer by layer. That cold water barrier they trusted so much gets sliced wide open by the fleet laser sonar like it is made of cheap glass. The songs of the whales and the sounds of the waves crashing on the rocks get pushed aside, leaving only one thing perfectly exposed. There is a thick tube of metal sitting dead quiet at 280 meters deep, hiding behind a rocky cliff called the Death Trench. It is the Stux-class submarine, the absolute pride and joy of the Iranian Navy. Look at them huddled down there, trying to hold their breath, killing the power to every screen and light, praying the dark will save them. They think they are totally invisible. But on the screens of the Sovereign, that hidden boat is glowing brighter than the sun. We are not just looking at them. We are listening to the exact hum of their cooling pipes and the frantic, terrified heartbeats of the sailors trapped inside. It is incredibly embarrassing for them. Iran spent years trying to make these boats scary, thinking they could push America around. But right now, they are nothing but a goldfish stuck in a clear bowl, just waiting for a giant hand to reach in and crush them. The Strait of Hormuz cannot hide you when the god of war has your name on a list. We have their location down to the exact inch. We have the sound of their engines recorded so we can study it later. The predator in the dark is shivering now, knowing our spotlight has lit up the absolute bottom of the pit they crawled into. We hold off on firing back right away. It is not because we are scared. We just want them to sit there for a few long minutes and really taste how hopeless this is. American payback does not rush. It takes its sweet time, like someone who knows they hold the keys to life and death. It is 4:49. The patience of the American Empire has officially run out. Up on the deck, the massive engines keep humming their easy tune. We do not slow down. We do not sound the battle alarms. When you have this much power, swatting a killer submarine is like flicking a fly off your shoulder while you take a walk in the park. The call comes to send out the Ghost Hawk flight and clear them to fire. Instantly, 2 of the craziest, Most high-tech submarine hunting helicopters in the world leap off the back deck into the sky. Their dark blades chop through the heavy Gulf air, sounding exactly like the end of the world. The American pilots do not have to fly around guessing. They head straight to the exact spot our computer gave them, hovering right over the water above the death trench. Now you get to see how brutal our technology really is. In the old days, sub-hunters would drop little microphones and listen quietly. Not the Ghost Hawk. It dips a massive sonar ball right into the water and starts screaming into the deep. It blasts these incredibly loud, heavy pulses of sound down into the dark. Ping, ping, ping. Can you even imagine what it feels like for the Iranian crew inside that metal tube 300 meters down? Every single time that sound hits their roof, it rings like a giant hammer slamming into a bell. It is absolute mental and physical torture. It shakes them right to the bone, ripping away whatever tiny shred of hope they had left. We are not looking for them anymore. We are banging on their front door, telling them to come out and take their punishment. They panic. They try to run. They floor the engines, throw out fake targets, and try to dive even deeper into the black water. It is so sad to watch. When you are dealing with smart torpedoes, swimming faster just means you die a little sooner. The pilot calls the shot. A Mark 60 Reaper lightweight torpedo drops into the waves. It does not roar and scream like their weapons did. It slips through the water totally silent, like a real ghost. It does not just chase a shape. It hunts down the exact heat and sound pattern it pulled from the computer's memory. Those last 10 seconds inside the Iranian sub must be full of desperate prayers. But out here today, nobody is listening to the tears of people who tried to pull a gun on America. The Reaper locks on. A high-pitched squeal echoes out, followed by a heavy blast deep underwater. You do not see a giant fountain of water or a massive fireball like you do in the movies. It is just a heavy, violent thump that bounces back to our screens. The thick metal of the Stux-class submarine just crumbles, crushing in on itself like an empty soda can under all that water pressure. The deep sea swallows them whole, taking all that stolen pride and turning it into nameless scraps of trash falling into the dark forever. The job is done. Nobody claps. Nobody throws a party. The Ghost Hawk teams reel in their gear and fly back to the ship looking as bored as someone who just finished sorting their mail. We dropped off a quick message from the sky, and the only answer we got back was permanent silence from the bottom of the sea. It is exactly 5 o'clock. Look out over the Strait of Hormuz one last time. What do you see? The setting sun is just painting gold on the calm waves. There is no massive oil spill to ruin the water. There is not a single piece of floating trash to prove that a slaughter just happened down below. The ocean is amazing at washing away stupid mistakes, and today, it just finished taking out the trash Tehran left behind. Back inside the Combat Information Center of the Sovereign, the mood is even more frozen than when this whole mess started. Did you expect people to be cheering, giving high fives, or listening to the captain give a movie speech? There is zero time for that kind of basic emotion here. People are just typing boring notes into their logs. The tech guys are saving the sounds of the enemy ship breaking apart so the rookies can study it later. To them, this was not some legendary war story. It was just a tiny computer glitch that they fixed perfectly by the book. Check the dials on the ship. We did not lose a single ounce of speed. We did not turn away from our path by even a fraction of an inch. The Sovereign is still on track for her mission in the Persian Gulf, right down to the exact second. That is what true, terrifying power looks like. It is not about making a huge mess when you destroy the guy trying to kill you. It is about the fact that your enemy is so completely worthless that killing them does not even make you late for dinner. Iran threw their best punch. They risked everything on one crazy gamble. And the United States did not even blink. We swatted down their favorite toys, wiped out their best crew, and kept sailing like nothing ever happened. Maybe tomorrow the news anchors in Tehran will spin some wild story about a brave fight, bragging about how they scared off the American Navy. Let them hold on to those cheap lies to feel better. The real truth is sitting 300 meters underwater, where their broken metal box is slowly turning into a home for crabs. The reality is, in this dangerous game, if you try to take a swing at the king, you do not just lose your life. You lose every ounce of respect your enemy ever had for you. What happened today was not just a win in a battle. It was a massive, brutal reality check. The water stays calm, the sun keeps dropping, and the sovereign keeps pushing forward, a pure wall of iron that proves exactly who runs the world. We did not sail out here to start a fight. We sailed out here to prove that this planet belongs to the people who are smart enough and strong enough to own it. And if anyone ever thinks about testing us again, they better remember how quiet the water gets right after it swallows the foolish. The great ship sails on, the rules of the world remain written in solid steel, and we are always watching.